Yo, what's up everyone? Patrick here, welcome back. And moving on to the next question dealing with the price elasticity of supply. We're told that at a price of $14, a product has a quantity supplied of 2,400. If the price elasticity of supply is 0.6, what would be the increase in price if the new price has a quantity supplied of 2,600? So this question here is actually going to be fairly tough. It's probably one of the more tougher questions you can get in terms of the algebra involved, at least for an economics question. But I'm going to do my best to explain the process as simply as possible. So we're given some information here. Now, we're given some information about the price of a product and the quantity supplied. So we're told that at a price of 14, the quantity supplied is 2,400. We're also told that the price elasticity of supply is 0.6, so that's the coefficient. So before we were calculating this coefficient, now we're given it. And then we're asked what would be the increase in price if the new price has a quantity supplied of 2,600. So for some other price, we'll call it X, that's what we're going to be solving for. That new price is going to have a quantity supplied of 2,600. And so what we have to do is we have to solve for this X value using all of this information. And this X value is actually not going to be the final answer. If you read the question carefully, what would be the increase in price? So once we have this X value, which is going to be the new price, we would take the difference between the new price and the old price. And from here, you could tell that this value is going to be greater than 14 because this value has a quantity supplied greater than this quantity supplied. And we know that that quantity supplied curve slopes upward, right? So this is going to be greater than that. So this here is the old values, and then these here are the new values, the new price and then the new quantity supplied. So to do this, what I'm going to do is actually first write out the formula for that coefficient, price elasticity of supply coefficient, which is the percentage change in quantity supplied over the percentage change in price. And what I'm going to do for now is I'm going to actually just work with the numerator and denominator on the side. So the percentage change in quantity supplied, what's that equal to? It's equal to the change in quantity supplied over the average quantity supplied. Now the change in quantity supplied we can actually get a numerical value for because we have the two quantity supplied values. So the change in quantity supply is the new minus the old, so 2,600 minus 2,400. And then the average is going to be both of them added together divided by 2, basically the middle between them, and then you could see the middle is going to be 2,500. And so what we would end up with is 200 over 2,500, which would end up being, if you simplify this, these zeros cancel out, 2 over 25. And I'm actually going to keep that as a fraction, right? So that percentage change in quantity supplied is 2 over 25. So, you know what, I'll just write it here in brackets for now, like that. Now the percentage change in price, this is where the tougher part of the question is going to come up because we're not going to get a numerical value here. The percentage change in price is going to be an expression in terms of X. So if we write out the formula, percentage change in price is going to be equal to the change in price over the average price. And we're going to get some kind of expression which is going to be a fraction. And that's why I kept this as a fraction. You can put a decimal here, 2 over 25 if you want to, but then the algebra after I feel like is going to be a little bit more difficult then. That's why I kept this as a fraction, but you can put it as a decimal. And there's different ways to go about this algebraically. You can try this your way, just make sure that you're getting the same answer at the end. So percentage change in price is the change in price now, which is new minus old, so it's going to be the x minus the 14 over the average price, which is going to be both of these added together divided by 2. So it's going to be x plus 14 all over 2. And see, now you start seeing how this is going to be a little bit more complex here, because we got variables here. This is like a rational function here, a rational expression. So to simplify this, what I'll do is this x minus 14, I'm actually going to put over 1, so I'm going to continue this here. So the x minus 14, I'm going to put over 1, and it's like we're dividing by this fraction. So we're dividing by x plus 14 over 2. So that's like x minus 14 over 1, this fraction, divided by this fraction, which is like multiplying by the reciprocal of this fraction. So 2 over x plus 14, like that. And now we can combine these into one fraction. So 2 times x minus 14 over x plus 14 times 1 is just x plus 14. So this here is the expression for that change, that percentage change in price, right? So that's the steps here. So this whole expression here is going to be this denominator. So I'll write that in brackets. So we'll have 2x minus 14 over x plus 14. Right? And that's what I mean, that this here was going to end up being a fraction anyways, and so that's why I kept the 2 over 25 as a fraction, because now we could just divide both of these fractions, and it's going to be, in my opinion, the algebra is going to be a little bit easier. And so we got this divided by this. That's the price elasticity of supply coefficient, and we know that the coefficient is equal to 0.6. So what I'm going to do now, here's where that final algebra is going to be. What we can do is we can say 0.6 is equal to this numerator, 2 over 25, divided by this denominator, this whole thing, which is a fraction itself, 2 times x minus 14 over x plus 14, like that. Right? So not the nicest looking equation, but nevertheless, it is an equation in terms of one variable, in terms of that x that we have to solve. Right? So there's going to be a lot of steps here, but notice that we took all that information, created an equation, now we can solve for that x. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work with this right side and make it look a little bit nicer. So the, actually, you know what? I'll do it on this side. So this would be, the work I'm about to do here is going to be side work for this main equation. So we have a fraction divided by another fraction. So I'm going to write that as 2 over 25 divided by 2 times x minus 14 over x plus 14. Right? So if this was a decimal divided by this fraction, you can't take this fraction yet and turn it into a decimal. It has to be a fraction, because it's got both of these variables in the numerator and denominator. So if this was a decimal divided by this, again, I feel like it would be a little bit more complex to do. So we got this fraction divided by this fraction. So what we can do is keep this fraction the same and then flip this one. So we'll flip this fraction, then we're going to multiply it, x plus 14 over 2 bracket x minus 14. And what's going to happen here? Notice the 2's are going to cancel out. And so what we would end up having, a 1 is left up here. 1 times x plus 14 is just x plus 14. And then this 25 is multiplying by this x minus 14. So what we did was we took this right side of this main equation and we simplified it to this. You can't simplify this any further. So the next line would be 0.6 equals x plus 14 over 25 times x minus 14, right? And this now is looking better than this, because here at this point what we can do is just cross multiply to solve for that x. So the 0.6, a couple of things you could do with this 0.6. You could put it over 1, that's what I'm going to do, but you could also take this 0.6, change it to 3 over 5, and have the 3 over 5, and then multiply the 3 here, multiply the 5, cross multiply like that. But when I'm going to cross multiply here, when I put the 0.6 over 1, the 0.6 times 25 is going to give us a nice number. That's just going to be 15. So when I do that, when I cross multiply here, 0.6 times all of this, we could just take the 0.6 multiplied by the 25, which would be 15. And then the x minus 14 is still there. And then 1 times x plus 14 is just x plus 14. And now this is looking a lot better. If you did it with the fraction way, if you took the 0.6, converted it to 3 over 5. So as I said, many ways to do this. What you would do is you would just cross multiply here. So 3 times 25 is 75, x minus 14, and then we'd have 5 times that. But then you could divide both sides by 5, and you'd end up with, the 5s would cancel, but then 75 divided by 5 would be 15, and you'd end up with this part over here. So that's another way you can go about it. But again, I saw that the 0.6 and the 25 are going to multiply into a nice integer, 15. So I just left it like that. So from here, pretty simple. We distribute the 15. So we would have 15 times x, which is 15x. Then we have 15 times negative 14, which would give us negative 210. That's going to be x plus 14. Bring this x over. This is like a 1x. So we'll have 15x minus 1x. And then we'll have 14, negative 210, bring it over, becomes a positive. Positive 210. So we'd have 14x equals 224. Divide both sides by 14. So x would be 60. All right, so as I mentioned, a good amount of algebra for an economics question. Right, so when you're reading it, it may seem a little simple, like, oh, it's just another regular price elasticity of supply coefficient type of problem, but it's a little bit more complex. So this here is the new price. So this is here. And then if you want, you can actually test this. If you end up having some time, you can take this information, calculate the price elasticity of supply coefficient like we've done before, and you should get that answer of 0.6. So that's the new price, but be careful with the question, because the question is asking, what is the increase in price? So if this is a multiple choice question, they may put 16 as one of the answers, and you have to get 16 as one of the solutions within the question. But the actual increase in price is the 16 minus the 14, which is $2. So that's the final answer right here. But this question could have also been, what would be the new price? Then the answer would be 16. So make sure you're reading these questions pretty carefully. All right, so answer to this question, final answer is $2.